read a book. And then we're gonna talk about it. Have you ever read a book and you wanna go and look to see if anybody else has the same thoughts about it? Well, baby, you're in luck, cause we're gonna hit it up if nobody else is gonna talk about it. So go get that book. Read it up. We're gonna talk about it. You know, baby, we're gonna talk about it.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. I hope you liked the new book club intro that I wrote all by myself.
It's brilliant. I loved it. 10 out of 10.
Thank you. Thank you. I was heavily inspired by Never Gonna Give You Up. Classic song where it just opens with just passionate grunts.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I want to do more of these. I've been trying to get a stream together with some friends talking about Elric of Melniboné, and that's
nice.
That's taken forever because the parties involved are very busy. But I want to do more of these book club reviews, and we're joined by the Acquisitioner, who I think it's been like a year since we talked. How long has it been?
It's been a while, yeah. Yeah, I've also been I've been busy doing other things as well, so it's kind of part of the reason.
Yeah, the Acquisitioner's got a small little YouTube channel he's working on, part-time, I assume, right? You have a real job?
Yeah, I'm at university right now, so it's pretty much part-time.
Yeah, he's got some interesting videos. He's very passionately dislikes the Vox Machina, the Legend of Vox Machina.
Well,
there's some very thorough video essays on that if you want to listen to someone rant about something they passionately disliked.
Yeah, I wasn't a rant. I spent way too much. I watched that show like 10 times just to get the notes down because I explain it in the actual videos why I hate it so much. But like to be simple, I went in wanting to have a good time. I had absolutely no expectations because I wanted to have just a nice, fresh TV show, unlike Wheel of Time, Rings of Power, and I just got slapped in the face. Oh
yeah, I don't disagree with any of the points you make. They don't bother me as much as they bother you, but like I was still able to enjoy the show. It definitely could have been better. Yeah. But we're not here to talk about Vox Machina. If you want to talk about that, go comment on the Acquisitioner's videos and get into a flame war in his comments. We're here to talk about Dune.
Yes, we are.
We're joined by a few people live, more than I was expecting because it's noon on a Friday and most people have jobs, or at least in America it is. In the UK where the Acquisitioner's from, it's nighttime. So it's the only time of day where where both of our nations sync up, where our periods are in sync. We're joined by we've got Dare Coon. Prepare for a debate. Some people liked it less than I did. We've got the Acquisitioner. That's you in the chat. We've got a new channel member.
Hey,
I've been practicing your name for like the last 5 minutes. Drydorgdregvik? I think I got it right.
On my end, it seems
Drydorgdregvik.
Lagging a bit on my end.
Lagging?
Yeah.
Oh. Are you watching on YouTube or are you watching through the app?
I'm watching through the app and it's lagging a bit. I've also got YouTube open because some of the comments are cut off.
Yeah, so there should be like a 5-second lag between YouTube and this, but if the video's lagging on here, it usually doesn't have a problem on YouTube.
I'll close some stuff, see if that helps out.
Yeah. Drygdorgdregvik, the new channel member. I believe you subbed for this stream in particular, and you're already in the closing credits, my friend. Because I woke up early this morning. And yeah, we're going to talk about it. There are absolutely problems in adaptation, which we will get to.
So,
but you always have to judge a film like three different ways, right? You have to judge it as a movie, and then as an adaptation, and then as a fan, right?
I was going to say there's a fourth one as well. This is a sequel.
Yeah,
a movie,
that's true.
a sequel, a fan, and an adaptation. So I've got particular notes about things that happened during the film itself.
Yeah,
but I do have some overall thoughts as well.
Yeah, how do we want to structure this? Just talk about the film first, and then talk about how it works as an adaptation.
Yeah, I think we should leave the adaptation.
Lord Chunk,
for last,
thanks for joining us.
Because
let's save the adaptation problems till the end.
Yeah, well, not to the end, like for later, because that's where most of the talking is going to happen.
This is a very interesting comment.
Yeah.
Which we will address later.
Okay, which one? That one.
Because I actually, Mr. Zip, I actually disagree. I think if you're taking the medium into consideration, I think that this was a smart move. I agree. Yeah, I would have. I didn't love not being able to see it, right?
Yeah.
But it's really hard to segment the conversation. I'll just give like an overview of how adaptation in general works, and then we'll talk about the film as a
I was going to just reply to it myself.
Yeah.
I like you said, I think one of the only changes I was absolutely fine with was Aaliyah still being a fetus.
Yeah.
Because the way books are struck, the pacing of books and the pacing of films are innately very different. Like, even then, the pacing of the film at some points isn't good. Like, there are some points I've noted down, like, there are whole points where, like, Paul goes on to go over to a Dune, whatever, and they just cut something else completely, and it's like a whole scene's missing. But, like...
Stilgar was a little too slapstick, I agree, yes.
So the weird thing is, I am of two minds. I'm of two minds with a lot of things in these films.
Yes,
and I think Stilgar is a massive one for me. Because but anyway.
Before we get into so adaptation in general. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Every medium works differently, and there are things you can do in books that you can't do in movies. And things in movies that you can't do in TV shows, right? And so every single medium has to be handled differently. Books, you can have internal monologues. You can't do that in TV shows or movies unless you come up with like a really, really creative way of showing it. Okay, that's why David Lynch's Dune sucks. Okay? I love the film for what it is, but David Lynch's Dune is awful because they decided to include all of the internal monologue, and 80% of the dialogue is people talking in their heads. It does not work as a film. Okay?
Yeah.
So, when you have a book, you need to accentuate what makes books work by showing people's inner thoughts. And you can do some amazing things. Ender's Game is 50% of the book takes place inside the main character's head. And you can do some wonderful, wonderful things with that. You can't do that in film. Films are a visual medium, so it makes sense to accentuate the visuals. When you're adapting from a book to TV or movies, you inherently have to sacrifice something.
Yeah, or just change things,
With movies, it's usually a sacrifice of omission.
Mm-hmm.
Due to screen time, you can't do the one-to-one book to screen. It won't work. So the best way to adapt a book is to distill the essence of the story, the themes, truncate the story, the plot, and accentuate the visuals, the action scenes. Okay, Lord of the Rings, they make the fight scenes longer.
Yeah.
It goes through most of the same story beats.
Yeah,
but it celebrates
Yeah,
parts that make movies interesting, right?
yeah. The siege of the Battle of Helm's Deep in the books is one chapter long.
Yeah, it's a
and
chapter.
And it's basically
It's
even
half
in
the
that
movie.
yeah. Even in that chapter, I re-listened to it like 3 times on my audiobook because it's basically just mentioned and it's over. But in the movies, it's one of the best sieges of all time.
Yeah, it's yeah, and it's not even in the book, right? Yeah, no, so when it comes to Aaliyah, yes, it is a massive divergence from the book that
Honestly,
changes a lot of stuff. But
not the most.
It could have worked in a TV show, maybe.
But
there's no way that you can do that in a film.
Yeah. So one of the
in a way that's remotely satisfactory.
Yeah, one of the things I mentioned last time I was here was the idea of like the Greek theater version of this, which is like a TV show where it's more of a mockumentary than a theatrical movie.
Yeah, that's your
like a historical fiction, because that way you still have the essence in the monologues, but you also have the time to explain things going on. Because the problem with films is films are short stories.
Yes,
that's what films are. It's very rare that you can distill an entire story into just one film. It's the problem with the Harry Potter stuff. I don't like Harry Potter, but they cut out a lot of the stuff from Harry Potter, which would have been cut out if it was a show.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see the Harry Potter TV show.
That there is
because
out.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know that.
They're doing a Harry Potter TV show.
Well, it should
won't be
for
for a couple of years.
Right,
and so you can make it. You can argue about it would have been better to make a Dune TV show, right? You can make that argument. It would have been a more faithful adaptation. But when you're
sorry,
when you're criticizing the movie, you do have to just understand adaptations inherently have to sacrifice something. So I always try and give adaptations that leeway. And the biggest sins for me are when a movie just completely ignores the core principles of the original book. Right? I understand you got to cut stuff and merge characters together. That's a good way of adapting books into movies. Yeah. Sometimes you have to take three characters and turn them into one character. Sometimes you have to take two events that happen in a book and make them happen simultaneously, or sacrifice the finale of one to you can squish things together and you cut things up. Even in a TV show, you do have to the sacrifice in a TV show is usually structure, because they're episodic. You have to rearrange parts of the book to make them work episode by episode.
Yeah.
So even like even Game of Thrones, which for the first couple of seasons were pretty faithful to the books, the structure is changed significantly. So how does Dune Part 2 work as a film? How did you like Dune 1? I remember you didn't
I didn't like it. Like,
you didn't like it as a film or an adaptation, though. See,
both.
It's a nuanced conversation. Okay,
right. As a film, I think it's all right, but it leaves a lot to be desired. Dune Part 2 established and built on it a lot. Like I went with my mum and dad to go watch that, and they definitely enjoyed that far more than Part 1, because a lot more happened, and a lot more was explained. Not enough was explained, but a lot more was explained.
See, the conversation is so nuanced. Yes, the fight scene isn't necessary for screen time, but it helps with the pacing of the film. That's why you have to take into consideration the medium the story is being presented in.
No, actually, I agree with Dirk there. Yeah, the opening fight scene. I know why
it's complete. It's not in the books. It's completely made up.
Like, I know why they added it, because they wanted to remind the audience of what happened. It's basically that first scene was a previously on, effectively, for the movie. Like, it established a couple of rules, like no shields, the Fremen are deadly, all that stuff. And that Paul isn't flawless.
Yeah. This is my main issue with the film and adaptation as well. That is the worst sin. And we'll get into
yes.
more.
Oh yeah. Oh, we will.
We'll get into it. Don't worry, we'll get into it. Okay?
Yeah, we will.
We'll get into
it.
Okay.
Let me see.
So Dune 1, you don't think works as a film? I enjoyed Dune 1.
Like, I think Dune Part 1 works as a film, as a foundation for Dune Part 2. As a standalone film, I don't think it works. As a foundation for Part 2, it does work.
I had a lot of friends who had not read the books that they loved Part 1. Just completely new to the franchise, didn't know anything about it, loved Dune Part 1.
Like, I think the personal subjectivity of me being me and who's read all the books before even seeing the films, that definitely changed my opinion on the books and also the movies than what it would have been if I hadn't.
Mm-hmm.
But like, the problem is, right, he only wants to do book 1 and book 2, right?
Yes. He wants to do one more movie. And I know your problems with that. I would push back. I would say if you're stopping at 2 and you don't want to tell the rest of the story, there is a natural stopping point there. You're obviously not going to get the point of the series, but you do get a comprehensible story.
You get the first half of Paul's story. Because that is what part 1.
Yes.
That is what book 1.
And if you end it there, it's a good story.
It's not, but that's the problem.
I know it's not the point of
I know, because the end of book 2 makes Paul out to be a white savior, which he isn't.
I know, but you only know that if you read books 3 and 4. Okay, I'm saying if you stop there, it works as a story.
It is in books 1, books 2. The difference is it's paid off in book 3 and book 4. That's the difference.
Yes, that's true. I don't disagree with you, but I'm saying if you don't know that the story changes,
Durkon,
and you stop at book 2, there is a natural stopping point.
I do agree with that. But Durkon, I do agree. Yeah, watching it in the cinema is amazing. Like I watched part 2 in the cinema. It was very good. Like, mwah. It's one of the best ones I watched recently from a cinematic point of view. It's brilliant.
Yes.
Like, my main gripes of it isn't, honestly, the cinematography is great. My problems aren't the cinematography. My problems are the writing.
Yeah. It has problems. For me, I loved Dune Part 1. I thought it worked wonderfully as a film, and I thought it was a pretty good adaptation. It didn't try and change... Well, there was one significant change, which I'll get to later. But most of... It had to cut a bunch of stuff, but what was there was almost one-to-one from the book. And I thought it was a brilliant adaptation.
I've watched part 1 quite a while now.
The biggest adaptation change in part 1 was the race and gender swap of Liet Kynes, I hadn't read. I watched the movie first, and then I read the book, and then realized, wait, that's a really problematic gender swap. But
I do agree for the Fremen, but I don't
after seeing part 2 and seeing how they kind of just turned Stilgar in, they gave Liet Kynes' book role just to Stilgar. It works. What would be problematic is because it turns out, book spoilers, that Liet Kynes is the secret leader of the Fremen.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah.
And it's his dream to turn Arrakis into a paradise. Return it to its paradisical glory.
Yeah, the green planet. Yeah, it isn't his dream. It's the Fremen dream that he is perpetuating.
Yeah, but he kind of made that their dream. Like, no one was pushing for that dream until he showed up and said, "Hey, like, I have the science that could do this."
Oh yeah, from what I remember, it's a case of it was the Fremen dream, but it wasn't possible. And he basically revived it because he had the power to.
And he turned it into like a passion. Like, this, we're going to do this. It would have been very problematic if part 2 comes along and they're like, oh yeah, the secret black woman was the leader of our Muslim society.
Yeah.
And, but they kind of like he's actually Chani's father.
Yeah, he is, isn't he?
Yes, he's Chani's father in the books, right?
That's right.
So I was really worried that part 2 would come along and they'd try and make it woke and be like, "Oh, women, the woman was in charge the whole time. She's our savior, our leader."
Yeah,
and they didn't do that. They gave his role. They just squished his role with Stilgar,
which is
so
kind of funny.
My only one gripe with the first movie was solved by part 2. So, like, adaptation-wise, I thought part 1 was very, very faithful.
I do agree with you. That is like a pretty big misstep on their part because of modern day shenanigans. But to me, they took out a lot of things, especially like early on in book 1, like the whole garden room and the whole. Like,
I would have loved to see the garden room.
Yeah.
And but we got a lot of it back in part 2. We got to see the gladiator scene with Fade
Oh yeah, I was happy with that.
It also filled in a lot of the lore stuff that they had to skip over in part 1 because Dune part 1 actually adapts the first 2/3 of the book plot wise.
Yeah, Dune. Yeah, the joke with Dune,
like if you're talking about the events, it ends 2/3. Yeah, it covers 2/3 of the book. It has to skip a lot of the lore.
Yeah, right. Like what's the joke now? Like, if you were to distill all 6 books of Dune, you get a light novels, a light what's the term? Like a book
short story?
A light read.
Novella.
That's a novella. That's a novella's worth of like actual things going on.
Yeah, no, like you can sum up the events very, very quickly. Not a lot happens because it's all in people's heads. It's all politicking and. Grim's been poking me in my DMs. Yeah, like I agree.
Okay.
What happened in part 2? What they did is they swapped Stilgar and Chani's role.
Yes, you're right. Yes.
Stilgar is the one who's against it the whole time, and only at the end he converts. I'm like, oh yeah, like it's a line in book 2. I think it's book 2 where Paul. It's one of the best lines in the books. He says when Stilgar starts worshiping him.
Yep,
he's like he hates it. He's like from that moment I realized I lost a friend.
Yep, and gained
a worshiper, and he hates it. He's like I wanted my friend, and I lost him that day.
Yeah, that was great.
They gave that role to Chani, and they gave Chani's role to Stilgar, which I didn't like.
Right? Can we talk about Chani? The worst thing that happened in part 2.
Absolutely. Yes.
Right, Chani. It's completely.
We've completely thrown out the compartmentalization. We're just ad-libbing here now. But go on.
So again, I got so many things about Chani. I hate her so much. Yeah. So no friend would ever say you use our religion to control people. The whole point of the Fremen is that they're so dogmatic about their beliefs that they're blind to the manipulations of the Bene Gesserit. Mm-hmm. Where you see manipulation, they see divine intervention. The Northern Fremen are more skeptical simply because they know Paul as an outsider and not a Fremen, while the South does not know Paul at all. Either way, all Fremen believe in the prophecies, even if they are constructs of the Bene Gesserit. You could literally tell the Fremen this, but they wouldn't care. They would just brush you off as a non-believer. They are doomed to their own fate because they willingly blind themselves to anything outside of Arrakis.
Yeah. You wrote that?
Yeah, I wrote more.
Yeah.
I wrote more.
Yes. No, that's very good.
Yeah, it's only until
Paul at first I was like, wait, is this a quote from the book? I was like, no. Okay.
No, I read this. Yeah. It's only until Paul tells them to leave the planet in his name to conquer humanity that they even leave Arrakis. It takes until after this for a small amount of Fremen to be disillusioned, but that's book 2. And even then, the whole point is that if a Fremen is caught being disillusioned or lacks faith, they die for it. The whole point is a lack of nuance. Also, small. Sorry, it's just there's so much. Cheney should not know that the Bene Gesserit wrote the prophecies of the Fremen.
Yes.
No Fremen should know that, mainly because of the Bene Gesserit scheming, but also because the Fremen passed down their teachings and traditions orally, which is why the Bene Gesserit were able to plant their manipulation so easily. They literally used their own culture against them for all those years.
Yes.
Having Cheney somehow know that the Bene Gesserit changed their prophecies millennia ago makes no sense.
Yes. But how I agree it absolutely should not have been Cheney voicing that dissent, but I didn't hate how the movie handled it. If it was any other character but Cheney's.
No, it should be
because I agree like as a book purist, it scratched me, right? But that's also a very, very hard concept to portray on screen. And I thought that the way that they chose to do it was actually kind of clever, to show that the Fremen weren't united, that there are sects within the Fremen, and some of them don't believe in the prophecies. That introduced the conversation so that the audience understands all of the subtext that you just explained, which I agree, as a book purist, it bothered me. But how else do you get that conversation started? How else do you give that information to the audience without...
You do it in Dune 2. Children of Dune Messiah. Because remember, the whole...
You have to wait for movie 3 to understand the context of the first two movies?
Yes.
That's rough. That's rough, dude.
Mate, the exact same thing happens in the actual books.
Yeah, but you get hints of it in book 1. You get the scene with Jessica and the Chris knife when she first shows up at Arakeen. What's the Fremen's name? Shout out Mapes.
Yeah.
I'm on a roll today. Normally I forget people's names. The Shout out Mapes shows up and tests her. And you get it's from the perspective of Jessica's character, and she's literally going through her head saying, "Oh crap! What did we tell them? What were all the lies that we said? I need to make sure I get the right wording to fulfill the prophecies that we laid out." So you get in book 1, it's through internal monologue, like internal dialogue. You get in book 1, it's a fake religion.
What's the thing in part 2? And in part 2, there's multiple mention in the dialogue that the religion is fake.
Yeah.
So that kind of does already.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. There's one more thing about
Jessica mentions it in part 2 as well.
Yeah. There's also the fact that one of the things I didn't like at all was Stilgar kept saying "as written," which is ridiculous because they're oral.
It's an oral tradition.
Yeah, so having to say "as written" makes no sense.
It doesn't bother me as much, but I get the that's a nitpick, which is true.
Yeah, it's a nitpick. One nitpick's fine, but like when there's too many nitpicks, well, it's too many nitpicks.
Yeah.
Oh, that's another thing. I did not believe Paul and Cheney's relationship at all in the film.
Yeah, especially because she was the one voicing dissent. If it had been Stilgar, I wouldn't have hated it as much, right? Yeah. Like it kind of. I mean, because that's kind of his role in the books, and even though he believes the religion, he doesn't believe that like Paul is the Messiah, right?
Yeah, because he knows him as a man.
And so like, I didn't hate that it was portrayed as there were factions in some of them, right? Because I thought it helped progress that idea. But it should not have been Channy. Like they could have done the same thing and just reversed the roles and have her obsess over him, and have him be like, "No, like you guys could have just made that crap up," you know.
Well, the thing is, right, this also ruins book 2. I guess book.
It completely ruins. So much so that I thought they were going to kill Chani off.
Yeah, me too.
As soon as they had the vision where he has the dream where she's like covered in boils. I thought I was like, okay, they're obviously going to skip over their child who gets killed, and they're going to give that role to Chani, have Chani die in the final confrontation, and that's what pushes Paul over the edge into just complete holy war.
Yeah, like so again
because in the book it's his child dies when they attack the CH, and that's what convinces him to ultimately go south.
Yeah,
and become the Messiah that he didn't want to become because he didn't want the destruction.
I agree with you, Declan. They should be skeptics.
And so there's the emotional pull is completely absent in the movie, and so I thought that they were because they changed Chani's character so much, it would have made sense to kill her off at the end and have her die in the nuclear explosion. Have her die in the nuclear explosion. Make that his like emotional driving scene, and just have his kids be birthed by the princess.
No, that's the thing. It being Irulan kind of ruins the point of Irulan. But yeah,
I know.
Wait, so.
But it would have been you have to make changes. I thought that's what they were going because of how much they changed Chani.
I know. So,
and I was like, it could work. It could still work if they kill her off. But then they didn't.
Yeah, like so. One of the things about Chani, the whole point of Chani is Chani has to be this absolutely zealot woman.
Yeah.
Because again, I wrote this
well,
down
especially because of book 2.
Yeah. So no, not even just book 2. The way the whole
fridging in the current
tragedy
year
of Chani, the whole Chani. So Chani believes in prophecy. She doesn't see Paul as a man. She sees him as her god.
Yeah.
It's why at the end of book 2, sorry, it's one of the main reasons Paul leaves at the end of book 2. The fact that Chani can't see Paul as a man, but a Messiah of prophecy, is one of the things that destroys him.
That's why he goes off into the desert.
Like the whole siege on the Emperor's spaceship. That in the books, every frame in there is literally seeing history being made. To them, this has been foretold for ages. It should have been a religious experience to them. But that whole aspect has, because of Chani, it's just been ripped out basically.
Yeah, it makes me really, really, really worried for Dune Messiah. Like I don't know with the Chani changes, I don't know what they're gonna do in Dune Messiah, and I'm afraid I'm gonna hate it.
Yeah, me too. Because like Dune Messiah hinges, it doesn't hinge ultimately on Chani being Chani, but her being like that is one of the biggest reasons why Paul is the way he is.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Yeah. Despite being so negative, I will say one thing. I did like the portrayal of the Bene Gesserit.
Yes.
Like, of
really
all the things I was surprised about,
really good.
Bene Gesserit is one of the best things that happened in the 2 films, especially in book 2.
I also loved seeing Jessica walking around talking to the baby.
Yeah.
That was like that really distilled for me the absurdity that you get in the books. Just the wild, like drug infused a character getting an orgasm watching a guy climb a cliff face wall, right? Like you're like, what?
Well, yeah, the whole point of those ridiculous scenes, it's Frank Herbert just pushing it because it's ridiculous. Like, despite it being a great books, it is ridiculous. You have to laugh at it.
Yeah.
I'm
gonna watch I'll be there opening night just because I have to know. Because if it goes well, because I get that there's arguments to say that part 2 went woke.
Yeah,
but it kind of, just like my gripe with part 1, it kind of hinges on what they do with part 3. Because I thought that my gripe with part 1 was gonna be an issue, and they fixed it. They absolutely fixed the problem I had with the first part. So yeah, there are warning signs that might absolutely ruin part 3, and they could be ill-founded.
Oh, like
I get Hollywood does not have a good track record, and I'm terrified. I am terrified. But I'll be there to watch it, and I'll be the first one to praise it if it's good. And that's like people like, did you like part 2? Maybe, potentially. It really depends on part 3. Like, I want to love part 2, but I don't know if I can't know if I enjoyed it yet.
Yeah, because I honestly, the films being called parts are probably the best things about them, because it's right. These stories are interconnected.
Yeah.
You cannot have these stories on their own. They have to be watched one after the other as a single story, like the Lord of the Rings films. Because the Lord of the Rings films, they are one film that has been split up into 3 films.
I mean, because if you ignore adaptation, I loved Dune Part 2.
Yeah,
I
honestly,
loved both of them. Like, visual masterpieces.
Yeah, if I had never read the book, or if Dune Part 1 and Part 2 were a completely original film experience for the modern day as it is, I think it would have been one of the best things I'd ever watched. But the books exist.
Yeah.
Like that's the main problem to me. If I watched those first, I would have been like, oh, that's really good. Then I would have read the books and I was like, oh my god, this is even better.
Yes.
But sadly,
well, that's what happened with Dune Part 1 for me. I hadn't read the book.
Yeah, I completely agree. Book 2 is good.
Ooh, oh.
I honestly, I agree. I still think every single Dune book is fantastic. But book 2 from... I don't know. Again, I loved it as well. But in terms of each book, I think Part 2... Because again, Part 1 was all set up. Part 2 is all set up. It's only until book 3 when things start paying off. So Part 2 feels like filler. Okay.
There's a lot of payoff in Part 2.
Oh, there is, yeah. But I know, but the real payoff is in
but
book
it
3,
is setting up. It is setting up 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Pretty hard. But then, you could make the same argument for book 4. Yes, there's a lot of payoff in book 4, and a whole bunch of unanswered questions. What is the golden path? We still don't know. Okay? We can guess.
Yeah.
Which we really need to read.
Yeah.
Heretics, man.
Yeah, after I've finished the Conan books I'm listening to right now, next book I'm going to get is Heretics.
What's the ETA? Because we need to do another one of these. We'll both read Heretics, and then we'll talk about it, and then we'll both read
my audiobook credit comes in on the 19th. So I guess next month will be when I...
How much is on your plate before you can start Heretics of Dune?
Well, I can put aside Conan the Cimmerian Barbarian for a while. Because it's a bunch of short stories, so it's not too bad. So yeah, I'll just put aside for a bit, read the book, get some notes down, and then come back.
Okay, let me know as soon as you're ready, and I'll start at the same time. I can power through books though. I can read a book in a couple days.
It depends how much.
Because I do audiobooks and I'm a heathen.
Yeah.
Or if you're a Sanderson fan, I'm a faithful Voron man, and reading is illegal to my religion. So.
Oh, that's right. One of the things that they've completely neutered the Fremen in this movie. Like, Jameis's wife and children are completely absent from the film.
I know.
Like,
Yeah, adaptation-wise, this would have made a much better TV show.
Yes, like, most books are meant to be TV shows for how they're structured.
Yes.
Like, it's only short stories that can really be in films.
It's not the worst adaptation. Unless Dune in Part 3 sucks. So, it all hinges on... It's okay. Whatever. But yeah. Sorry, you just said the character's name.
Jameis.
Jameson's wife could have added a lot.
Sorry, it's Jameis.
Jameis's wife. Sorry, I forgot one name. I got all the others. Jameis's wife
That's true.
would have added a lot that I can't believe, since they didn't go where I thought they were going. I can't believe they cut the child.
Yeah, like, so
Leto the second, because that's the whole point.
Yeah.
He needs that loss to push him over the edge.
It's not just that. It's also a case of it's showing it's the whole links to a historical basis to represent like Islam and Middle Eastern cultures. The whole point of Paul having to become the new husband and father is to show Paul the Fremen's attitude towards family, and especially women and children. It also like robs another debt for Paul and the Fremen, because when you kill the whole cultural practice of when you kill a man, you take responsibility. You take the responsibility for what you did out of the world.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a case of the whole taking the children and wife. It's meant to be a case of you've robbed the world of this person and their role in society. Now you've got
it is a minor sin, but it held a lot of significance.
Mm-hmm.
I obviously I would have loved to see in the flashbacks with Fade Ralpha. What's his? I would have loved to see. Is it Count Fenring? Is that his name?
Yeah, I have.
We got Lady Fenring.
I have a whole diatribe about this guy. Oh my god!
I would have, and they filmed his scenes too, and they were cut.
Really? They filmed Count Fenring?
The actor came out and said, it was the most heartbreaking news he'd ever received. When he found out his entire role was removed from the movie.
But the whole point of Count
it's
Fenring...
it's a 3-hour movie, man.
So what? It's like there are things that could have been cut from the film to allow Count Fenring to be in there. The whole point... Okay, Count Fenring has many reasons to be in the books. The film. The main one being, it's to show that Paul wasn't special. Paul was just one of the people who could have been the Kwisatz Haderach. Fenring could have been the Kwisatz Haderach. The whole point is, Paul is just the end product of mad Bene Gesserit machinations that just so happened to appear one generation too soon. Like, Count Fenring has many roles in the books, but the main one is that Paul isn't special. Just it's a further drive in to say this whole Messiah malarkey is just that, it's malarkey. Like it doesn't need to. He isn't special. He's just a guy who just so happens to be in the right place, right time.
Because they were planning. I can't remember what they say in the books, but the plan was to make the Kwisatz Haderach in the next generation. It was supposed to be the child of Princess Elia. Was it Elia and
Fade?
And Fade, yeah.
And I love it so much. It's so funny. Oh yes, Fade Ruther, known it was psychopath, would have been a loving wife, a loving husband to Paulina. It's like no.
Yeah, no. So it was Tim Blake Nelson.
I don't know.
Filmed his scenes as Count Fenring, and then got a phone. Can you imagine getting that phone call? Hey, you're not in the movie anymore. Oh, it's awful. And they also had to cut the. They filmed scenes with the Mentat, who was in part 1. The Atreides Mentat. He had scenes that were cut too.
What happened to him?
His scenes got cut.
No. You can't just cut Food for Howard. That was the thing I was going to mention later. Food for Howard disappears. He was in part 1, and then disappears. Like, no.
I guess he died in the city. Why am I am lagging on the stream, and I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah, I'm noticing that. It's kind of weird.
Let's try this.
Fade is officially human. No. The whole point of Dune is that it's set so far in the future. Despite them thinking themselves human, they are not human as we know humans.
Maybe if I lower the resolution, it'll help.
Maybe, yeah.
Sorry, I missed the last thing you said.
No,
it's still lagging.
Yeah, the humans in Dune aren't humans as we know them. It's so far in the future that none of them are really human. Also, Grim mentioned something. Yeah, the whole point is that no matter what happens, so it's hinted at in the books that the Kwisatz Haderach was almost came out multiple times, but every time the Bene Gesserit mess it up. And the biggest mess up was Paul, because the Bene Gesserit couldn't get their Kwisatz Haderach. The whole point of the Kwisatz Haderach was to be a Bene Gesserit puppet, and they messed up royally.
Well, it wasn't them. It was Jessica, because she betrayed.
Oh no, it was all of them. Like Jessica is a product of the Bene Gesserit.
Right.
Like, she is a Bene Gesserit. She was a part of this. She wanted Paul to be the Kwisatz Haderach because he's her son, and it just so happens that he is the Kwisatz Haderach.
Yeah.
The problem there was the Bene Gesserit wanted to make it when they wanted to have the Bene Gesserit.
Yeah, he was talking about.
Oh, okay, I see.
Human.
Oh yeah. That was a weird scene. Like I
liked it. I liked that scene, even though it's not in the book, because it helped with the lore. It helped cover some of the lore that was skipped in part 1.
Yeah. Oh yeah, another thing that's completely missing is CHOAM, the CHOAM company.
Oh yeah. And we obviously need to see the Spacing Guild more.
Yeah.
I would have loved. I get why this was cut, but I would have loved if we got more of the homosexual sex pest side of the Baron Harkonnen.
They took the line of like the consequences of Fade Ruther trying to assassinate the Baron Harkonnen in just this random scene.
It was your birthday present, right?
Yeah. I wasn't now. Yeah. From what I can tell, anything that isn't directly tied to Dune itself, like the Arrakis, isn't important, it seems. The Spaces Guild, CHOAM, most of the noble houses that are kind of important are completely stripped out from the narrative.
Yeah. Hey, we did get to see like a one scene on the Emperor's planet. But
there's a couple of scenes, yeah, but it's
I liked the casting.
Apart from Cheney, yeah.
No, of the Emperor, I mean.
Oh yeah, the Emperor, yeah.
I totally agree. Cheney should have been a different actress. I don't understand Zendaya appeal at all.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Grim. My headphones just fell off. Grim put out. Yeah, the CHOAM company, the noble houses of the Spaces Guild, they're kind of really important to Dune Messiah.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be. Yeah, so I don't know how they're going to do part 3 then, because they're very important and they are not set up at all.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're going to have to set it up in part 3.
Which is kind of lame, but I get it. Yeah, I'm looking for notes. Like, it's kind of weird. My favorite scene in the film was probably the fight scene between Fade and Paul.
Wonderful.
Like, from a theatrical point of view, it's really, really good. But I prefer the book version. Zendaya ruins everything she touches. Yeah, I thought I liked it at first in the Spider-Man films, but I no.
I didn't like that he repeats that Fade Ralpha repeats the line, may your knife chip and shatter, because he probably has never even heard it.
Yeah.
It was like in a mocking way, like, may your knife chip and shatter. But I think I would have preferred if he just said nothing and charged in fury, you know?
Well, that's the thing. The way they were going for it in the book, the film, was a bit more honorable.
Yeah.
Because in the book, I reread that.
Which it is not.
No, yeah. Like, I literally, I reread that section of the book, and I noted it down. So, they removed the poison from the Emperor's blade.
Yeah.
The poison needle from Fade's leg.
Yep.
And while the knife fight, it's best seen. However, it being a straight knife fight removes the whole point of the scene. Even during a supposed honorable combat, Fade, representing the Imperial House itself, resorts to dirty and underhanded tactics. Mm-hmm. While Fade was trained by Howard in the books, he wasn't a good fighter. He was like Commodus in the gladiatorial ring.
Which is why all of his opponents were always drugged.
Yeah. All his fights were rigged, and even the one fight that wasn't, still was, because his weapons were poisoned, and the judges around them would not let Fade die anyway.
I loved the visuals of those spiky guys, whatever was going on in that.
Yeah,
in that
I
fight
the
scene
judge.
now.
I can't remember the call, but yeah, the judges. Yeah,
that was cool.
Anyway, I think the whole like. I did at first. I was like kind of weirded out by it, but like no, I do like the fact that it's black and white, and like
No, it was the Baron. The Baron was actually trying to assassinate him. It wasn't a birthday present.
Wait, in the books or film?
In the book. Pretty sure, because they have that whole conversation. I might have to go back. I might be wrong, but
no, because I remember because the Baron wants Fade to take over from Raban, killing Raban in.
Was it the Count
books.
Then that is responsible for it?
I don't remember
because there's a conversation. Fade Ralpha comes up to the Baron and says, "You just tried to assassinate me," and he said, "Yes, but it was because of this." That's in the books. That's in the books.
Yeah. I think you're right, but I don't remember the full context. I do believe there's more. Oh yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah, Fade, that makes way more sense. Fade organized itself. Yeah,
maybe.
Like,
so
I think Durkin's right.
So he was, but they do have a conversation. So he was pretending that it was an assassination attempt.
No, yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was Howard's idea. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes way more sense. Yeah, because it's right. Because Howard wanted to kill Fade because he's a Harkonnen. Yeah, he's right. Yeah. It's because he was teaching Fade he's not invincible. It was Howard's idea. He said, "Yeah, that was it. Yeah." So the Baron, it was the Baron. The slave master got blamed. That's right. Durkin's right. But it was Howard's idea to teach Fade he wasn't invincible.
Gurney Howard?
No, not Gurney Halleck.
Thufir,
the Master of Assassins, the Mentat, who was taken out for part 2.
Okay.
So in the books, I guess in the film, it was. They kind of recontextualized it to be like, "Oh, happy birthday," but like. In the book, it kind of makes more sense. And people cover switch a poison for Longblade himself. Yeah. Yeah. Grim put out as well. Yeah.
It was for Howitz. Okay.
Yeah. So it was the Baron. It was Howitz. Yeah. So yeah. But I think.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I was wrong.
Yeah. It's a warning that the politics of Dune are deadly. Yeah. Right. What else? Right. Yeah. One of the things. Just because it's actually a couple of things, but a small one is the wind traps.
Oh yeah.
The wind traps in the film look way too small and flimsy. Like they're meant to be robust and sturdy to withstand the desert winds. After all, they're the main source of water collection.
Yeah, they look like just like flimsy hot air balloons.
Yeah. Yeah, that's. I do agree with Durkun. The Harkonnen designs, the whole boldness thing, I wasn't with it at first, but like the more I thought about it, from a visual standpoint, I did like it, because the whole point is, Baron Harkonnen is a tyrant, like a massive tyrant. So an easy way to show that is having them all be bold or like pale white skin. I liked it.
Gurney Halleck. Yeah, so I only listened to audio. I haven't read the book, so the spelling Halleck sounds a lot like Howick. Okay?
Yeah, I know.
That's why I got them mixed up.
Yeah, Gurney Halleck.
I was like, it couldn't have been. That's why I was so confused. I was like, why would Gurney? Gurney wasn't on Gedi Prime. No.
Yeah,
Gedi Prime is the wrong planet. No. Hold on. Dude, is it just a vamp?
Yeah, Durkun. Good comment.
No, it is. It's Gedi Prime. I got it right.
Yeah. The Harkonnens designs, especially the pilots. Yeah, I did wish the Sandcrawlers were more H.R. Geigerish because they were the best designs for the stuff. But yeah,
those were cool.
I think if you were to put the H.R. Geiger influence, it would be with the Harkonnens because, it's H.R. Geiger.
Oh man.
But like, speaking of designs for stuff, the Sandcrawlers can vary in size. But
they were all the same gigantic size.
That's the thing. They were tiny. So the ones owned by House Harkonnen are meant to be huge, the size of a large country like
Sorry,
Germany.
I thought you said the sandworms. What did you say?
The sand crawlers, the
sand crawlers. Okay,
spice collectors. Like they're meant to be so. Yeah, the reason why they're meant to be so massive and can be seen from orbit is to withstand a sandworm attack.
Yeah, but it looks really cool in part 1 when the sandworm eats it.
I know, but the whole point is that's not meant to happen.
But it looked cool.
I hate the rule of cool. Rule of cool sucks ass.
Yeah, but it's a movie. It has to look cool.
No,
you have to accentuate
it can look cool
the benefits of the medium.
You could look cool while not destroying what's been established.
I did notice
look at Star Wars. Star Wars looks awesome, and it doesn't destroy. Pre-Disney Star Wars doesn't destroy itself.
Yeah. Typing, trying to figure out how to spell the names of these characters when I've never seen it. Yeah.
Thankfully, I've got a hardcover of the first 3 books as one.
See, thank you, David. David thought it was cool.
Yeah. From a cinematic standpoint, it's the Part 8 Star Wars, like the light speed ramming thing. It looks awesome until you think about it for 2 seconds.
I did love that scene in theaters, though.
Oh, I know, I did too.
The sound design behind it was just, and then you're like, yeah, okay.
Like, wait a minute, this is kind of like. I wonder if there's one giant space station that could have been destroyed really easily if this was a thing.
The worms were never seen to come directly from below ever again. It happened once in part 2.
Yeah, at the very beginning.
But what I thought was a little silly is they do the sandworms were basically always they were always the same size, and even in the scene where they're like, "Oh no, that one's way too big. Paul's in trouble now." And then every time they showed a sandworm after that, they were the same size. They were the same. And you're like, okay, well that takes away from his accomplishment. I mean, the one scene where they had Lady Jessica on top of the sandworm. Mm-hmm. When they were transporting her, that was a smaller one.
Yeah.
But the ones they ride into battle at the end, they're all the same size. It would have been visually a little bit more interesting to see them see different sized sandworms. And this is a nitpick. I completely acknowledge this. It really bothered me. I was grunting in the theater. I was like, no. The sand trout.
That isn't a sand trout.
They're just they're worms.
That's not a sand trout. That's a sandworm.
Yeah. It's supposed to be a fish. It's supposed to be a sandfish.
What's the thing? It's not actually a sandfish. The sand trout, despite being called a trout, they're more like giant, like algae kind of things. More like cells that are super large than, more like leeches actually than fish.
But it's not supposed to be just a smaller worm.
Also, it isn't a trout because it wouldn't have drowned.
I know it's
not
a fish. It's like a.
I mean the sand trout. It's not actually a sand trout because water wouldn't have killed it. Because remember, they're like water.
They're like leeches.
Yeah.
But
sorry,
obviously, it makes sense if you don't have time to explain it. Because the scene's not very long, and if all of a sudden it's a different creature, the audience isn't going to get it. I completely understood the choice in adaptation to just have it be a smaller sandworm.
Yeah, it wasn't until it wasn't until book 3 that I actually remembered the sand trout even existed. That was quite important.
Yeah.
Also, I love how one of my notes is just rip Cheney's red hair. Another redhead lost to Hollywood's anti-ginger agenda.
She was redhead?
Yeah.
I completely forgot about that, man.
Well, do you know why I completely forgot? It's because in the books, we don't learn Cheney has red hair until book 3.
Yeah.
I love Frank Herbert. A very key and important character detail. What?
I don't know. Oh man, I would pay so much money to see God Emperor of Dune on screen.
But it would just be a guy sitting around.
I know, and it would be so fun. Come on, there's action in book 4 though, dude.
Oh yeah, there is. Yeah,
there's the time where he he rolls around to crush all those humans.
Yeah.
I mean, there's stuff. It would make such an interesting movie. Make Dune Part 4. I mean, I guess Part 5.
Part 5. Yeah,
Make Dune Part 5.
Like if Dune Part 5 would come out, it would just be 10 minutes long. and it would just have random shots of Letter the Second just
sitting thinking.
Yeah. And then he cuts away.
That would be one way to adapt it, to just show the events, and to instead of skipping the internal monologue, it's just shots of him thinking, so the audience doesn't get anything.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. They completely forgot to add the fact that the worm should have great pillars of fire coming out of its ass from it producing oxygen.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's such a silly thing, but like, that's kind of really important because that's why oxygen exists on Arrakis. It's thanks to the worms literally pooping out oxygen.
I forget how Liet Kynes dies in the book.
Basically, she gets put there by the Harkonnens or the Emperor. He gets put in the desert by the Harkonnens or the Emperor, and then he goes, and then his whole story is basically set up for the great battle scene at the end of part 3 of the books. But remember, a swelling of spice and water mixed together and explodes, which was actually used in the final battle.
Oh yeah.
And they completely cut out because the reason why the nukes in part 2 they're shown but never used. Because in the books, they're used to cause a bunch of spice explosions to destroy like the aircraft and the spacecraft by causing a massive mountain of spice to erupt.
One thing that I really did appreciate in part 2, and I was keen-eyed like the whole time, making sure that they didn't do this, and they didn't. Was to have they were very careful to never show a laser gun hitting a shield.
Yes, in fact, that's one of the reasons.
And it was brought up, and someone who hadn't read the book was like, "Why don't they have these laser guns and they never use them?" And I'm like, you activated my trap card. I was
like, also, I found it so funny. Like, Frank Herbert wanted a reason why swords were used, and then because it's set on Dune, he decided, oh, wait a second, I'm just going to have it so the sandworms come to the shields. Basically removing that whole thing apart from in major cities.
So, Denis Villeneuve has already said he only wants to do the first 2 books. But
I know.
If the studio wants to make more, and if it keeps making money, they're going to want to.
Yeah.
What director do you think is worthy of taking over and doing book 3 or book 4?
Well, the thing is, right, one of my favorite lines from book 3, because it's so funny, is Letter the Second thinking about the future and getting a adult beef swelling. The beef swelling. I don't know, because like, if you'd asked me this back in maybe like the 90s or 80s or early 2000s, I would have been like, this director. But nowadays, I just do not trust Hollywood at all to do something good. Like, the fact we've got
ignore if obviously that's hard, right? But if you were guaranteed that they would try to be as faithful as Denis Villeneuve has.
Well, that's kind of the problem. The first 2 books aren't faithful enough. Yeah. There are things in part 1 and part 2 that need to be there for Dune Messiah and Children of Dune to make sense.
But I have, even though I'm terrified, I feel like Villeneuve has given a pretty good track record. Like, I'm terrified, but also the problems that I thought were going to be problems in part 2 weren't, right? And so I'm like, well,
Jamie.
And also they retroactively, they went they went back and filled in a lot of the holes that were in part 1, like lore wise. We got to see the flashback scene with Fade Ralpha. We got the Bene Gesserit religion influence on Dune explained.
Yeah.
Like there were a lot of things that they went back and fixed. So even though it wasn't set up in the way it was set up in the books, they could still retroactively fix these problems for part 3.
They haven't explained CHOAM or the Spacing Guild. The whole reason why they explain in book 1 is because you need to understand how influential these people are.
Yeah.
Because Dune Messiah builds upon that.
Yeah.
If they introduce the Spacing Guild and CHOAM in book 2, in part 3 of Dune Messiah, what are they going to call it?
It has to be the opening scene. Like
it has to be the opening scene.
I guess you can show like a montage of the Holy War, and then the next scene has to be conspiracy. That's kind of how the book opens, isn't it? Isn't it just a meeting? It's a meeting between everybody.
Also, oh my god, I cannot wait for all the people who haven't read the books to watch part 3 and realize they're gonna see basically none of the Holy War.
I know.
No, jihad. Sorry, the jihad. Like
that's what jihad means.
Honestly, I know, but it's called a jihad in the books.
Sorry, I misspoke.
Yeah. No,
I believe they also call it a holy war, but it's not that.
Well, you don't trust J.J. Abrams.
Oh, Mark Clark, you're funny. Thank you so much for the $1.99.
Sorry.
And that's the. That's the thing. There are directors like JJ who can do like good visuals who I would not trust to touch this, like
like no, that's the thing. JJ Abrams, he's the only technique he knows is lens flare. That's it.
Yeah.
He's not good. He just knows lens flare. That's it. And it's awful. Like
some crazy indie director to just go full drug trip. What about No, but no, it's hard. See, and there are a lot of indie directors where like I really liked their indie films for like their character for what they're able to do with characters, and yet I don't know if I would trust them with a big budget blockbuster because you have to also be good at that kind of stuff too. Like I would have said. So we did this on last week's live stream. We were talking about who could possibly direct an adaptation of the Lightbringer books, and one of my arguments was Lightbringer series. It's really good. Brent Weeks. They're fantastic. There's 5 in the series. It's a really good series, but they heavily explore like faith. But it's a fantasy world faith. One of my arguments was, I was like, I can't believe I'm saying this, but if M. Night Shyamalan hadn't already screwed up with Avatar and that didn't exist, I might choose him to make a Lightbringer book because of how well he includes faith as a narrative in his movies with signs, like that's a huge part of the story, and he could adapt that part of the series really well. But so it's a similar problem with indie directors. Like, yes, there are parts that I think they could do well, and then they could totally screw up the rest of it, like Shyamalan did with Avatar.
Like
Jar Jar, God Emperor of Dune.
Misa like
I'm sorry. I'm very sorry.
What's it now?
Couldn't they say jihad in the film?
For direct, honestly,
hey, if he's not in charge of the writing, maybe, I'm there.
Maybe you have to tell Zack Snyder no slow mo, no slow mo.
Okay, give him one slow-mo shot with a worm. Give him one slow-mo. Come on, you gotta get it out of his system. Wes Anderson, Dune? Yeah, no.
Like, I don't know. Because, genuinely, no.
But Wes Anderson might actually be able to do Dune 4 pretty well.
I think...
because of how dorky that book is.
because of how Doom Messiah works, I think for Doom Messiah, the people who directed, if they were still alive, the people who directed 12 Angry Men might have been able to do it. Because 12 Angry Men is just 12 angry men in a room, and it's all the acting, all the writing, and there's barely any special effects. There's some great camera work. I think the style of 12 Angry Men might be the way you do the Dune series going forward. Because a lot of it is so much of Dune after book 1 is so internal. Even book 1 is internal. But like Dune 3 and Dune 4. So Dune book 3 and book 4 are so internal. You have to have actors who can act their hearts out, because they have to show so many emotions on their faces.
Like with Gurney, like Dune Messiah has a Gurney, not Gurney. Dune Messiah has Duncan Idaho problem.
We should not talk about because it's spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers. Dune Messiah has a Duncan Idaho problem because that is the entire plot of the book. Like pretty much, it's Duncan Idaho, and it all takes place in his head. In his head and Paul's head, trying to mind game each other into figuring out that. Like that's hard. That's really, really hard to do.
Yeah. So spoilers for Dune, but Duncan Idaho is the one character who appears in every single book. Yes, I know he died in the first part
not
1.
in part 2.
Yeah.
Well, we got a flashback of it, didn't we? Or we had visions. No, we didn't see him.
No, we didn't know. Yeah, part 2 is the only. Yeah, part 2 is the only time.
He's in the book 1.
Yeah, book 1. Yeah, he's in book 1, book 2, book 3, book 4, book 5, and book 6. He's the only character who appears in every single book.
Oh man, if Kubrick was alive, I could go for a Stanley Kubrick Dune.
Yeah, I could see that happening. Because you'd have to get I think you'd have to get a director who's very good with drama and not action to do it. Because Dune,
but there's you have to also be good at that though, because it can't be the focal point. But there's some pretty intense sequences that have to be handled well. Would you trust Christopher Nolan?
They could do kind of what the first Predator film did, which is the main action scene at the start of the film was directed by somebody else, and the rest of the film was done by, was it John McTiernan? I can't remember.
I don't know. That would be interesting.
Grim just says something very cursed. They're probably going to cut Duncan Idaho, strong male lead, not in this day and age.
Where is that?
No, he posted in my DMs.
Okay. I'm like, I don't see the comment. Got it. Yeah. They're probably going to cut Duncan Idaho.
He's watching his patriarchal pig.
Yeah. It's problematic. Man, Stanley Kubrick could have done a good job. Would you trust like a Christopher Nolan Children of Dune?
What do you? I know the name Christopher Nolan. What's he done? I can't remember. My brain.
Inception, Interstellar, the Batman trilogy.
Oh, that guy. No, probably not now.
Okay.
Like I think he could be good.
Would you trust Ridley Scott? Actually,
no.
Yeah, I mean, he's so
not nowadays.
I would trust old Ridley Scott. Like 20 years ago.
Yeah, because he works with H.R. Geiger. So, yeah, I think Ridley Scott from 20 odd years or 20 to 30 years ago.
Okay,
I would trust him.
What about a redemption story? Do you give? I don't know, not Children of Dune. Do you give God Emperor of Dune back to David Fincher? Or not David Fincher?
Lynch. What's his name? Lynch, right? David Lynch.
David Lynch. Honestly, like the weirdness of the original movie could totally work for in God Emperor.
Like, I honestly,
But now that I accidentally said David Fincher, that might work for Children of Dune.
Oh, James Cameron.
No, I don't.
James Cameron, the greatest pioneer.
James Cameron, has done is a pioneer in his field, and he pioneered so hard that his head went straight up his own butt.
Yeah,
and it's been there for way too long.
I
Lynch's
honestly,
God
it's a case
Emperor
of-
with no studio. Yeah, see, like let's get Lynch back.
at this point,
Christopher Nolan. Yeah,
I would
suggested that.
prefer it if the role was given out to just like a bunch of like basically all that will happen is the studio would say, okay, we want an indie director to come in, and then a bunch of indie directors make a scene from the book into a short scene, and then post that and say, okay, we're gonna pick from here. I think that's how you do it, because I think the egos of directors and stuff from Hollywood are too big.
Yeah,
like it's the same problem with the Expanse series. I'm reading the Expanse books, and I was watching the show after I finished the book, and it's like these people think they can write a better story than the book that was so highly acclaimed. It's like, no, you can't, and it shows because the show's bad.
Yeah,
it's like book 2 is such an easy like story to adapt to a TV show, and if you just did it 1-to-1, it would have been amazing. But no, they think they're so high and mighty. It's like, honestly, that show again rekindled my hatred towards Hollywood, because like, no, you're not better than them. Like that's my fear. I think for doing part 1 and part 2, he went in with the mindset with he has to change things because Hollywood says so, but he's not better than Frank Herbert. If another director came in from Hollywood, they would think, I am better, I am going to change it.
Yeah.
Because honestly, the fact we got pretty much only the Islamic taken out and Cheney, and everything else stays relatively the same apart from Aaliyah, I think that's a miracle.
Yeah, good luck getting them to to criticize Islam.
Oh, I know. It's like, the whole point of the Fremen. I know.
But I not taking. It's probably going to go to an indie director, but I think David Fincher. Now that I accidentally brought him up, I think David Fincher could actually make Children of Dune pretty well, and I would love David Fincher. He's he's 7. He's the depressing guy.
So
he did 7. He did the girl with the dragon tattoo. He did the other serial killer one. I think he could make a pretty interesting
The Room, Dune.
Fight Club, Dune the Room.
I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Aaliyah.
I don't know. I think David Fincher, because there's a lot of like emotional depth to Children of Dune. I think David Fincher could make a good Children of Dune, and then pass the torch to David Lynch for part 4. That would be
that's
fantastic.
the thing, though. You might, with that though, you might end up having a Star Wars situation where the first director has one vision, second director has a different vision. Like, that's kind of the problem with having multiple directors and not unifying.
Hey, but it worked the first time.
Well, that's because it wasn't planned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about Francis Coppola?
Fincher and Lynch, because people can't confuse them already enough. Oh yeah, like that's.
That could work though. That could work.
Right. The problem with part 3 is that
part 3 movie or part 3 book?
Book 3.
Okay.
Book 3. One of the problems with book 3, with adapting it, is the children's sexualization thing.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
We can gloss over that.
Well, that's the thing, though. You kind of can't, because it's the whole point.
Okay, then age up the kids. I'd be fine with that.
Honestly, I would too, because the whole point of the whole point of Children of Dune is Children of Dune is about these children who are not allowed to be children.
Yeah,
they are adults with the bodies of children.
So here's what you do. You tell it non-linearly. Age up the kids in present day, but you can shoot back to when they were kids for some of that stuff. So that the scene where they're just like sitting on the cliff, just talking to each other and pretending to be different characters from history, right? Like role playing. Do that. Show that when they're kids, and then do the sex stuff when they're older.
Yeah, because that does kind of work, simply because the beef swelling scene does happen after Letter the Second and Ganima split up. So there could be a time skip after that point.
Yeah.
But Dune's... The problem is, right, Dune's already complicated enough without a time skip.
I know.
Like, having it be non-linear would just confuse things even more.
I think you just need to lean into it, you know?
Well, that's the thing. Dune isn't... It is confusing because there's a lot going on. But when we actually sift through it and understand it, there's not actually that much going on. It's more just understanding the philosophies, the themes, the characters.
What about Greta Gerwig?
I'm not a film buff and watching a bunch of films.
She did the Barbie movie and Little Women.
No.
Patty Jenkins.
That sounds familiar and evil.
Wonder Woman.
Yeah, no.
She directed Wonder Woman 1. She didn't write it, which is why it was actually pretty good. And then they let her write Wonder Woman 2, and was like, "Oh, yikes!"
Let's
I just googled best female directors. So,
I see. Let's not mention 1984 because it has the rape scene in it, and I don't want to think about that.
Wait, what?
Dune adaptation evil feminism.
oh, Wonder Woman.
Don't worry. When we get to book 4, there'll be a lot of feminism.
Yeah, there is. There's some feminism
in Frank Herbert's own special way about lesbians, which I won't talk about because that's spoilers, but also it's kind of weird.
It's weird. I had a thought in the... I lost it.
Oh, there was one more thing I liked. They actually added in Princess Irulan's diary entries.
Yeah, I liked it.
It's
good.
I wish it was in the first film, but I guess it wouldn't really make sense in the first film, would it? Because she doesn't really appear until part 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They haven't greenlit the third movie yet, have they?
Yeah. It's demonetizable. Yes, Grim. Yes. If it's what should be adapted, I would. Yeah. I don't know. I think after Dune Messiah, I think making it a TV show makes sense. I think.
Oh, swap. Okay.
Yeah, because I
mean, it would be significantly easier. Yeah.
Yeah, because going with the theater approach after book 2, like the whole documentary way, is kind of the way you have to do it. Because like we said, it's
they are. Internal. Did you know they are doing a prequel TV show focused on the Bene Gesserit?
I don't care.
Okay,
because it's going to be based on the Brian Herbert stuff, which isn't canon. It doesn't matter. Nobody cares about anything else but Frank Herbert stuff.
But it could be kind of interesting watching them, manipulate a religion, pulling strings. But
we get that in book 1, and book 2, and then it crashes down on them in book 3.
If you just swap to a TV show, okay. If it's in the books,
I don't know. I'm some about the Valerian Jihad trilogy. Yeah, I have only read the first 4 Dune books, and Tex-Mex has said, we're going to read book 5 together. Well, not together, but at the same time.
Yeah, because we'll do one of these.
Yeah, because to understand Dune, you only really need to have the first 4 books, and then some theories, Grimm's theory about the.
It's just sad that he wasn't able to finish it. I'm also going to commit, and you don't have to. I completely understand. I'm going to read his son's. I'm not going to read any other books other than how he finishes the trilogy, so Sandworms of Doom and the other one. Just because I think it would make good YouTube content to see, okay, this is the stuff this is what was being set up, and this is comparing the two. But
I wouldn't read it myself, but I'd definitely be interested in talking about it to see what you said, to see what happens in his version.
Well, because what I've heard is those were the last ones. Some of the last ones he wrote. He's written a couple other since, but those were written like a couple years ago. And so he was writing a bunch of prequels. He wrote the house books, like a book trilogy on each house, or no, just one book on each house, and then he wrote a bunch of books that happened in between his dad's books. Like there's one that goes into the Holy War, the Jihad, and then he wrote a bunch of concurrent books that are happening while his dad's books are happening, but from different viewpoint characters. And then for the finale, rather than finishing up his dad's story, he included all of his made-up characters from the concurrent books, and people are like,
"No, it's true that
I don't know about that, man."
No. It's like, all these characters who didn't appear before suddenly appear. That's kind of weird.
Yeah, but I'm like,
Also,
I'm not going to read any of the prequels, and I'm going to read his continuation of his dad's story just to see how wild it is. You know,
right? You have to remember, right? Brian Herbert is the reason why so many famous authors have written it into their wills that their stories and notes were to be destroyed when they die. Like think like George Martin and Terry Pratchett both had that in their wills because of Brian Herbert.
Yeah.
Like that's how bad it was, man.
The characters. Well, I'm not going to read them, so you can spoil it for me.
Oh, yeah, like one of the things I hate is like apparently in book 1 they were creating the idea of no spaces for some reason. Like, we're going to create an anti-prescient room, despite there being no prescience really. It's like, wow, that makes total sense.
Yeah. But it'll make it good content, right? If I just read his books and then read the sequels that I have no setup for, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, again, I'll be happy to listen to what you say happened, because every while, I've told you already what I think should have happened in book 7, or like an idea-ish.
Yeah, and I really like that theory. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like the whole Valerian Jihad being linked to it as well, because again, the whole of the assassination, the little droid, the floating droid machine thing. It has no payoff unless you think about it from the perspective of book 7.
Yeah. So it's Hunters of Dune and Sandworms of Dune that finish off the story arc that was established in Heretics and Chapter House, and those were written in 2006 and 2007 respectively. But he's been writing in his dad's world for a lot longer. Like
it's like I've got a.
This is the 1990s. There's that
is really late, isn't it?
Let's see. Chapter House Dune was in 85. Right? So and Frank Herbert died like the next year. And his son was writing books in 1999.
Yeah.
So
it's like
10 years later, you know?
I get it. You like your father's stuff, but like the problem is a lot of it is just I want more money. Grim wants me to mention our Valerian Jihad theory, and then mock it with images of Luddites breaking computers and mobiles.
No, I really do like your theory, bringing back the hunter seekers and explaining why, or at least your theory of what. There's so much you have to guess what the Golden Path was, and then you have to guess why it's the only way to save humanity, and then
we know what the Golden Path is.
Right.
The Golden Path is basically
creating humans that cannot be seen with prescience.
No, not that. That's a part of it. The idea is the Golden Path is for humanity to not be so reliant on one single figure. No person should idolize one person as a god, or like as a perfect leader.
And he does that by being the worst one person ever, so that people never do it again.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, I remember the thought that I had. I'll bring it up later.
So the Valerian Jihad theory is the way the history in Dune, whilst it's a bit vague, the one thing we know for sure is that
there was a
Arrakis,
machine war.
No. So a bit before that.
Okay.
So spice was discovered on Arrakis, and it is known that spice was stronger and more potent in the early history, and it's getting duller and duller and duller.
Well, the sandworms aren't native to Dune, though, right?
No,
neither are the Fremen.
Yeah, so the idea is they discovered, so something happened on Dune which turned it into a desert planet, which then created spice. Or sorry, spice came from probably Dune worms. We're not sure where it comes from, but it's probably the sandworms. Sandworms created the spice, and then people took the spice, and because of how potent it was, because their genes weren't like dulled to it, the belief is they saw the war that would happen in Book 7. They saw the rising of the hunter seekers and killing off humans, and then after they first discovered Arrakis and the spice, at least according to history, after that point, the Balerian Jihad happened. So the theory is, like I said, spice happened. They realized, oh my god, we're going to be attacked by machines in the future. The Balerian Jihad happened, which destroyed all machines. And then, obviously, years later, as in thousands upon thousands of years later, in Book 7, the hunter-seekers developed prescience. And that's why the
Golden Path was necessary.
The golden path. The way I think about it is the no spaces, the null ships, the no space rooms, and the people who can't be seen by prescience, they exist because of the hunter seekers. They exist because Letter II saw that future and realized that was the only way they could fight
to create a version of humans that can survive that attack. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I don't believe that the golden path is that. I believe that is a consequence of the golden path because humanity has to survive for the golden path to make sense, for it to work. The golden path itself is simply humanity spreading across the stars, but not holding their leaders up on a pedestal. Their leaders will always be questioned. Their leaders will always be scrutinized. The leaders must be the best because they're responsible for leading humanity.
So free market capitalism.
Probably, yeah.
There you go. That's the answer.
Well, yeah, because one of the big things Letter II hated was like aristocrats and socialists. Like he hated the idea of like that kind of stuff, because like putting all your faith into one leader, it's like, well, this person is just that. It's one person, and that's what Letter II. The whole reason why he put himself the way he was to show that putting all your faith into one person is a terrible, terrible idea, because nobody's perfect.
Yeah. I believe it's Dune Messiah. One of my favorite parts is where Paul is like researching like great leaders.
Yes.
And they have that entire conversation about Hitler and his good qualities. like it makes a lot of sense, like,
in
to
context.
have that conversation thousands and thousands of years in the future, completely removed from the emotional impact of World War II, right?
Yep.
To analyze his tactics and qualities as a leader, you know,
that's the thing.
Divorced from the consequences.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
that's
such
the
a
thing,
fascinating conversation.
Grim makes a good point. The whole Letter II, what he does, Letter II is effectively one big mockery of the perfect leader. Like he's meant his whole reign of terror is just that. It's to make people want to mock the perfect leader because this man led us for thousands of years and it caused a great stagnation. We want to get away from him. And what's now? Like the whole Hitler thing. The reason why Paul says that is because Paul's is basically a Hitler. It's kind of what he is. And that's why he sees good in him. Because
he does a holy war, yeah.
Well, not just a holy war. He does share a lot of similarities to the leader of the Third Reich.
Yeah. I also love. I believe I quoted this last time we talked, but from God Emperor of Dune, where he talks about like bad managers.
Yes, or bad leaders. Yeah,
a bad boss or administrator is the word he uses, and it's just
bad administrator. A
bad administrator.
A few heartbeats.
Because it's it was so funny. My wife was dealing with a boss that was just like that when I was reading with the books, and I was like. Yeah,
again, they're great
because he's a bad administrator.
Yeah.
They're more concerned with reports than decisions.
Oh,
and it's like so true. They're like they want to have. Or I'll just read it. It's a bad administrator. Okay. The difference between a good administrator and a bad one is about 5 heartbeats. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good administrators make immediate choices. Are they the right choices? Sometimes, and sometimes they're wrong, right? But they can be made to work. Even if it's the wrong choice, they make it work. A bad administrator, on the other hand, hesitates and diddles around, asks for committees for research and reports. He eventually acts in ways which create serious problems. A bad administrator is more concerned with reports than decisions. He wants the hard record he can display as an excuse for his errors. Which was 100% my wife's old boss. Like it was that was his whole thing. We need data to do, and they never made decisions. But we needed data to show that what we were doing was justified, right?
Yep. Like one of the funniest things I remember, like say, I have a friend who says, "Oh, I read book 1, but I'm not agree with anything else," and their excuse was, "It's a good book, but I already agree with all the philosophies, so there's no point." What? It's like, is that even more of a reason to read the books then? It's like, oh, but I don't want it. It's like, it's what? It's so strange to me. It's one of the strangest excuses I've ever heard to not read Dune. I agree with it, therefore I'm not reading it.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people have problems with the prequels. I hear the best ones he wrote were like the House books. That those received like the most praise and the least complaints. But
Demagogue. Yeah, Demagogue's a good. Again, Grimm's a bit behind, he says, but like Demagogue is the word for the kind of leaders that led to the second is basically showing is evil.
Yeah.
Like, what's it now? There are so many great quotes for Dune, aren't there?
There are wonderful, wonderful quotes.
We must find the stolen journals. We must get Frank's book 7 notes.
Right. That's one of my, the common like icebreaker question, right? If you could have dinner with anyone living or dead, who would you choose? And my answer, ever since reading The Wheel of Time, has always been, I think it would be absolute like what a conversation. Have dinner with Robert Jordan and Brandon Sanderson, and just have them like. I wouldn't participate in the conversation at all, but it would just be Brandon Sanderson saying, "Okay, what did I miss? What did I mess up? And what would you and then like, okay, is there anything I did that surprised you that you liked? And like, oh, that's better than what I'd put in, Well, like, what a conversation, right? I would also love to see Frank Herbert talking with his son and just like, what?
No.
What did you do?
It wouldn't be that. It'd just be a quick slap. To talk briefly about the Wheel of Time series. Love the books. Love them so much. But the more I think about the last 3 books for Brandon Sanderson, and Brandon Sanderson as a whole, I do not think they're that good.
I like them.
Like I like them because of the ending to Wheel of Time.
Yeah.
But like, as because of the last 3 books, I read more Brandon Sanderson. and I do not like his books that much.
I'm a big fan. So
Like,
I'm a simp. I'm a Brandon simp.
I want to be a fan. I really want to like. I loved the Way of Kings.
Yeah.
Like, I read the Mistborn trilogy, didn't like them.
Wow.
I tried. I really tried, but I just didn't like them. Way of Kings, love that book. It's one of my favorite books of all time. But then I read the second one, Rhythms of War, I think it is.
Rhythm of War. Yeah.
And I hated
Or
it.
that's sorry. Rhythm of War is book 4.
what's
It's
the
Way,
book two?
Way of Kings. What's the second book?
Can't remember.
Radiance.
That's
Knights
it.
of Radiance.
Radiance, yeah. Something of Radiance, I think, or Radiance or something. Yeah, I that book, man. It started off all right, but then as it went on, and the ending. Oh my god, the ending! I could not stand the ending. I'm sorry. Like,
of
or-
Sanderson.
yeah, of a book to your Stormlight Archive. I really didn't like it.
Yeah.
Like, the book dragged on for me. There are cool moments. There are cool moments, but the ending, like 3 characters, either should have died or did die and then came back, and it completely ruined all tension for me. I won't say who because it isn't a Stormlight Archive stream.
This isn't one of those streams. This is a good question.
Yeah.
Who would you bring back?
We should get back.
It would be fascinating to get Herbert back to finish because he was very clearly setting something up, and didn't get to write the last book.
Off the top of my head, there are like 3 or 4 choices.
Mm-hmm.
Robert E. Howard for Conan.
Oh yeah, okay.
Tolkien, because apparently there was going to be a third book.
It's hard to argue against that one.
Yeah, I think it's going to call like the Shadow Returns or something.
Mm-hmm.
Robert Jordan, because obviously he died, or Frank Herbert.
Here's the thing with Robert Jordan, though, he was stretching it out a little bit too much.
Oh, yeah, like even he.
I'm not saying it was good that he died, but when he found out that he was dying.
Oh yeah,
he was like, "Oh, I need to wrap it up," and his last book was one of his best ones.
Oh yeah, like book.
And before that, they were getting kind of a little bit bad.
Yeah, Veins of Gold. Oh, Veins of Gold, man.
I don't know about Pratchett. I love Terry Pratchett, but I don't think his works. I don't think he's missing anything.
Yeah,
right.
Because of the way Terry Pratchett doesn't have a grand narrative. He writes standalone stories set in the same world and stuff. So
there wasn't anything. I would love more stories, obviously. But there wasn't anything missing, right?
Yeah.
Also, his later books weren't like Going Postal was fantastic, and then the sequels to Going Postal were like mediocre.
If I had to twist my arm, I'd say Herbert, just because at least with Brandon Sanderson, we got a satisfying. I despite my problems with them, the Brandon Sanderson books for Wheel of Time were satisfying to an extent. I am satisfied the fact how they wrapped up and stuff. Yeah,
Herbert would be very interesting.
Yeah, but Herbert's book 7, I think. But Dune to me is the best sci-fi story. Like, I love The Expanse. I think they're amazing, but Dune is like unlike anything I've ever read, and it's amazing. But the fact we don't get a proper conclusion is so sad.
Does look? I know he's not dead yet, but
Martin,
can you like revivify George R.R. Martin?
I knew it. I knew you were going to say that.
could we just like renew his energy and get him to finish Ice and Fire?
Funnily enough, Grim and me, because we both like the series. I like it because of the TV show a bit.
I haven't read them yet, but they're on my list to start. Yeah.
Oh, don't do it. Don't do it to yourself, man. Don't.
Okay.
Dokkan's right. Yeah, Dokkan is the unfinished series. Yeah, I agree. It is the unfinished series. But with George R.R. Martin, it's a case of the more we found out about
make him young. Just throw him in the fountain of youth.
Well,
you know.
No, that isn't the problem. The problem is from what we could piece together, George, when he's wrote down himself before he started the series that he does not like to write a book if he knows where it's going.
Yeah, he's a gardener.
Yeah, he's a gardener. But he knew a general idea where it was going, obviously. But the fact that he knows exactly where it's going, that's part of the problem. Then there's also the fact that George messed up a lot with killing off a bunch of characters. The Red Wedding and Clegane. So Sandal Clegane, the nice one. Those two the Red Wedding was one of the biggest mistakes George Martin ever did, because a lot of things require Jon becoming the King of the North to make sense, or like be like a legitimized to make sense. Then there's also killing off is it Sandal Clegane, the nice one? I can't remember. I think it is. Like him being killed off. Also, yeah, like there are so many things.
I don't think he got killed off, didn't he? He got thrown off a cliff.
I don't remember. No, I think he died in the barn, in an inn or something. I wasn't now. Yeah. Also, the last two books, which take place concurrently.
Yeah.
Like, according to I've not read those books just yet, but according to Grimm, they're the worst books. The quality of their writing is so much worse, because basically nothing happens in them, because it's all set up for the two books that aren't going to happen.
Yeah. Is it just two left? Winds of Winter and Dream of Spring?
Supposedly. Yeah. The thing is, though, with those two books, so Dance Dragons and A Feast for Crows, so many plot threads have been built up, and two books are not enough. Like, people have figured out that to get all the plot threads wrapped up is impossible in two books. Even if those two books are like 15,000 pages or more, or something like that, it would not be enough. Like, there's so many chapters, so many things that need to be done that it's ridiculous. It's impossible. It's like he has wrote himself into such a corner that I'm not surprised he can't write it. Because again, the Red Wedding, despite being one of the most shocking things ever for TV and books, it completely screwed him over. Grimm has just said revive Kentaro Miura, the author of Berserk. Which, yeah, I can from what I can tell. Yeah, Berserk, yeah.
Yeah, I've heard people.
I love So Last Night to get finished, really, but it doesn't quite it. So,
yeah.
I agree, yeah, Declan.
I don't know if it extends to directors, but man, if it would have been fascinating to see where Kubrick was going, you know?
Combine the last two audiobooks according to a list I have found online worked well. Yeah, because the events do happen concurrently. If you can figure out if somebody figured out which happens where, I could see that working, yeah. But like just reading them back to back as like two separate works, at least according to Grimm, it just doesn't work, because you're basically going back in time for the next book, which it removes all the pacing. So yeah. Yeah, so Martin has just got the money and now he's just run away. He sold us the bridge. Yeah, because from what I remember, Berserk was wrapping up, but then he died. So, yeah.
Did they finish the series without him? I don't know.
They're going to, yeah. I'm not sure.
It's not done yet. Okay.
Yeah, they plan to finish it, but they haven't started anything yet. Yeah.
I know he's not a writer, but I would bring back Norm Macdonald, greatest comedian of all time.
Yeah.
Too soon.
Yeah, there are a lot of I think after Hirohiko Araki, I think some people in Japan figured out that the age of death for like mangakas is like 20 years younger than normal people in Japan. 20 years.
Wow.
That's that's not healthy.
Kubrick wanted to do superhero movies? Oh man.
Oh my god, that would be amazing. Stanley Kubrick's Green Lantern.
Could have been great.
Oh, do you know what'd be awesome? Like just some like if this was like still like the early 2000s, just having some short films about some like more niche superheroes, like The Question,
Yeah.
would have been great. 'Cause I love The Question. He's one of my favorite superheroes.
I haven't read anything with him. I know of him, but yeah.
Yeah, but for me, I haven't read much stuff. It's just from the DCAU, Justice League Unlimited. The Question is just the idea of The Question is so funny, but it's also so cool. Love him so much.
I gotta check on my kids because probably gonna have to wrap it up.
That's fine.
And I've got
It's
my
been about 2 hours.
it's noon for me. We started at noon, so I put my girls down right before we started, and it's been 2 hours. And yep, I think she woke up. So
oh no.
But yeah, I feel like we've exhausted the conversation. We could keep talking about movies for forever, but
but like, to wrap up on Dune Part 2, to put definitively, I would say Dune Part 2 as a standalone sequel, without thinking of the books.
I think it's a great movie.
Dune Part 1, Dune Part 2, I think together they are fun.
Yes.
I think they're fun films.
As an adaptation, I don't know yet.
I know they're bad. Because if they plan to do the films and the books, so if they plan to actually adapt the stories from the books to the films, they screwed up. They need to start again. Mm-hmm. They need to start again because they left out so many key details. Yes, I know the pacing in book 1 is kind of skewed because Frank Herbert had to write for a magazine that wouldn't have allowed him to publish.
I forgot about that. It wasn't a book at first.
Like, it's one of the things you have to tell people when they want to get into Dune, that there is a lot of information because it was a magazine that would not have been published if it wasn't grabbing people's attention. Like, that's why Dune is the way it is. Mm-hmm. Like, it's one of the biggest problems with book 1, but it's also its greatest strength because you have to know the foundations that are set in book 1.
Right.
You have to. But those foundations have not been set.
It's tough. It's tough, though, because at the same time, it's hard to get a better adaptation in a film without in the same medium, right? Like for the medium, I think it was like 80% faithful.
Yeah, I do agree.
Obviously, a TV show would be better, but for a Dune movie, it's pretty impressive what we did get. And thank you, the super chat.
Oh, wow,
nice. Is that euros?
Euros, yeah.
That's the first international super chat I've ever got. 10 euros. Thank you so much. I think we agree on more than we disagree. It's just how much it affects us.
Yes.
Where we disagree. Because we're all saying the same things. It's just, but how much does that bother you, right?
Yeah, it's like we don't have the exact same evidence before us.
We don't agree much this time.
Yeah.
But the chance to vent was very therapeutic. Well, I'm really glad you joined the stream. It was a lot of fun. Thanks for the open discussion. Have a drink or snack on me. Also, non-Dune movie series book club starts sounding great. Yeah.
Well, speaking of this little plug myself, because I love the book so much, I do plan to make a sort of abridged/analyzed chapter by chapter video series of the Dune series.
That'd be great.
Like I started book 1, chapter 1, and dear Lord, like actually analyzing it and like just abridging it. Mm-hmm. Like it's gonna be like 30 minutes long.
If you have book suggestions, don't put them in the live stream comments, but comment like in the video afterwards if you want me to read a specific book.
Yeah, and if I have them as well, I'll be happy.
I'm open. I have a lot on my TBR, a lot of things I'm planning on reading. I just finished 3 Body Problem, so that I can talk about the show. But yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So hopefully, I plan to get that out.
Oh, I'm there with you, man. I agree. I'm as conservative as it gets. I'm very anti-woke.
Right, I'm quite annoyed with work entertainment, so I'm easy to trigger.
But I mean, compared to this, wasn't that bad.
Yeah, apart from Cheney and the whole Islamic removing.
Yeah.
Honestly, apart from that, it wasn't that well.
This isn't as bad as the Marvels, okay? I agree, though. I'm there. So thanks for joining the stream. I gotta go get my girls up from a nap. Oh, they're playing together.
It was nice being here.
Okay. Thanks for coming, and we'll totally be back for Heretics of Dune, and if they ever do the third movie, we'll do this again. But yeah,
obviously.
You last time we talked, you said you were going to start a series that I wanted you to read. Was it I can't remember what it was. Was it because I recommended that you read Gunmetal Gods, right?
Yeah, it's on my wish list. It's where is it now? Yeah. If you ever read Gunmetal Gods, we got to talk about that. And I think you said you had also started reading First Law, right? Yeah, I read.
We can talk about First Law. We can do one of those.
It's been a while since I read it, but yeah, definitely, yeah.
But you read all three, and then we'll talk about it. You need to read all three.
Well, I've got a list. I do have a list going on.
Okay. Yeah, just let me know what you're reading, and we can do these. All right, and then we can let the audience know if they want to read before we do a stream.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, Gunmetal Gods is on the Audible 2-for-1 sale.
Oh really?
Right,
in that case, I've got I'm saving some credits. So
there are a couple other books. They're Going Postal. If you haven't read that one's on the 2-for-1. So you get Gunmetal Gods and Going Postal, the greatest Discworld book ever written. There was
Did you agree, Grim? I think Grim has the words for that because he's a massive Trey Pratchett fan as well.
Yeah, I did a stream with him. Yeah, so, those do that. I already have Going Postal, and I already have Gunmetal Gods. So there's the only one there was a Isaac Asimov book that I hadn't heard of that I might buy, but I would need to find a second one, and none of the other ones looked interesting. So anyway, I gotta go check out my girls. Yeah, bye.
Gunmetal Gods. It's 2-for-1. You said, right?
Yeah.
I'll look on the website then because it's on my phone.
Yeah. All right. Well, I gotta go. Thanks for joining me.
If you want to be here,
if you want to become a channel member, like the guy's name who I can't pronounce, Dragdugogordov, you get access to emojis, and it helps support me make. I would love to be able to do this full time, but right now I have to be a dad more. So
yeah, I want to be YouTuber full time as well. I got content to do that.
Trying to get to the point. Right now, my wife works, but I want to get this to the point where she can quit, and so I can make more videos.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. See ya, chat.
See ya. Thanks for tuning in. Check out the Acquisitioners channel, and just cross your fingers and pray that Dune Messiah is okay.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it?
I'm terrified. Bye.
I just happened to stop by for books.
Books. I like books.
Okay, well, let's talk about it.
I can't talk about it with you.
Well, why not?
We already did that.
We just finished.
What happened to then?
We passed it.
When?
Just now. We're at now.
Go back to then.
When?
Now.
Now?
Now.
I can't.
Why?
We missed it.
When?
Just now.
Oh, how did that go?
Well, we had a really good conversation.
Was it as good for you as it was for me?
You did fine, Todd.
Good.
You can go home now.
This is the end.
That's all she wrote.
I'll never forget you.
I don't even know how to read.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. If it's true, please take a minute to subscribe to the channel, and you can join us along for the ride. And if you pay me, I'll try to be more entertaining, so please consider joining Patreon.